Mike, in one of the letters we received from the state, one of their objections was that they were concerned that we were going to be proselytizing. Now, what do they mean by proselytizing, and what are they objecting to? And aren't we free to be able to give our message to people? We're not forcing our message upon people.
No, that's a really important point. They couldn't define proselytize. The state couldn't, because no court has ever really defined that either. The U.S. Supreme Court or any of the lower federal courts have never been able to give a good definition, because the term itself is sort of hopelessly vague, and that's why it would be an impossible standard for the government to enforce.
And yet they used that word in one of their letters to us.
They did. In fact, that was one of the early stated objections, that they were afraid that someone at the park might proselytize, so they couldn't define it. You know, that would be the most blatant example of viewpoint discrimination if the state makes that argument in the court, because in effect what they were doing is singling out Christian speech and ideas for discrimination, and you just can't do that. I mean, imagine if that rule were enforced. That would mean that employees at the Ark Encounter theme park could extol the virtues of Kentucky basketball or Reds baseball, but they would be prohibited under the law, under these statutes and by the state, from talking about the virtues of our Judeo-Christian heritage or sharing their faith. It's just sort of nonsensical in its idea, and yet that was one of the reasons that the state gave. And you know, you all have pointed out so many times, no one has to accept the viewpoint of Ark Encounter to come to this theme park. To the contrary, you've been very open about this. It's an invitation that goes out to everyone. And in fact, you've said, and I love this idea about supporting free speech, that you invite diverse viewpoints. You invite the atheists to come and visit. I mean, debate is healthy. That helps all of us hone our positions and defend our faith as we believe. And that's an important part of this. So there's no discrimination involved here whatsoever with regard to who will come to the park. We want everyone to come. That's what the free marketplace of ideas is all about.
In fact, it's just like the Creation Museum. We've had lots of atheists come to the Creation Museum. We've had people who don't agree with this from all sorts of other church denominations come to the Creation Museum. But many people have said to me as they've gone through the museum, even though I don't agree with your particular viewpoint, nonetheless, it's presented very nicely and you're not hitting people over the head with it. I mean, that's who we are at Answers in Genesis. We just want to put the information out there. That's what we're doing with the Ark Encounter. We just want to get the information out there to challenge people, for them to look at and them to consider. And that's the free exercise of religion, right?
And it's the beauty of free speech and the beauty of living in a free country. And those ideas and those principles are worth defending.